Are you stuck? Lacking inspiration? Not sure what you want to create? You may want to try what I do when I'm stuck. Hi, I'm Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Welcome to my channel. So, one of the things that I like to do when I'm stuck is work small or work on these tags. And these tags start by using leftover paint stencils that are left out. You're removing the overthinking process. So, here I had this bright aqua paint and I had just brushed it on to one of these tags that I have sitting there. Then I grabbed this stencil, my stencil brush, and again, I'm using some Prussian blue leftover paint. I'm not making decisions about color. I'm just putting it down. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, I can add another layer. There's no risk. It's small, it's inexpensive. The idea is just to create and get out of your head, stop overthinking it, and just move forward. Now, with these tags, sometimes I get going and I finish the tag all in one session. Inspiration hits and I take off. At other times, like these two tags that you're going to see me start, on one day, I may add one or two layers and then they sit for a couple days, couple weeks. It doesn't matter because the next time I have some extra paint, I'm going to grab them and apply them, and these tags just kind of develop on their own. So the second tag here, I have this paper that I had painted with brown. This is from the color of the year, which is Mocha Mousse. And it was a failed attempt. So I had this paper sitting there. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it down as a first layer. So I cut it to the size of the tag. I'm applying gel medium, and then I'm just going to adhere this on, and I'm brayering on. I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to see where this goes. No risk. Worst case scenario, I throw it in the garbage. It doesn't really matter. The idea is to get unstuck, and that's just, again, remove your overthinking. Get over that. So here I'm just edging it with black because I'm thinking the black goes well with the brown. But, with both of these backgrounds, very flat paint, one tone, no mixture, no lights and darks. So that comes. I am going to be adding interest to this over time. So here I decided after I edged it with black, I said, I'm going to do some stamping with acrylic paint on the black and on the brown background. I'm going to break up that monotonous, boring background by just adding some layers, by stamping, by stenciling. And again, I just grabbed this stencil, or stamp. I'm not overthinking it. I just thought, okay, this is something I haven't used lately. It's kind of vintage, goes with that brown. And that's as far as my thought process went. You can look on your desk, grab whatever's handy or something that you haven't used. Again, you're looking for some surprises because often when I do this, I discover, ooh, I really like this combination, or I like this stencil. Why haven't I used this stamp? So it kind of frees the mind up and gets you out of maybe that creative rut that you're in. So as I said, those backgrounds just kind of sat there for a few days. I did do the color of the year video, and that actually then was not a failed attempt, but I had Prussian blue left on my palette, so I grabbed this Art Deco Leaves, I believe it's called, from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm just stenciling it on with the leftover Prussian blue. I wasn't sure that the Prussian blue was going to show up enough on that dark brown background, but I really like that color combo. And maybe something I'm going to do on purpose on an art journal page or a mixed media piece down the road. This is what I mean about when you have no expectations, you're going to experiment more, or try something that you wouldn't otherwise do, and then you can learn. I'm really liking the leaves on the background, but it's getting very dark, so I wanted to add a little bit of brightness. So I had some white gesso on my palette, so I grabbed that, and I'm just stamping with this little, I think it's water droplets stamp that I've had forever. I'm erasing something there, didn't quite stamp properly. And there we go. I'm adding a little bit of brightness there. It's pushing back some of the stamping and the stenciling that I've done before, but I'm really liking the effect of it. And so we've gotten, on a very boring brown background, we added two stamps, one stencil, and another stamp. So we've really layered it, and that makes for an interesting background. So I grabbed some sentiments. Now, this sentiment, it says, it's the little moments that make life big, but I'm going to edit that. This sentiment is from an upcoming sentiment pack. It's a work in progress. It's not available yet, but it will be available at NINNYSNAPKINS.com in the new year as soon as I get it all done. But I'm editing off part of it and shortening it to fit the tag. Tags are fairly small. You don't want long, wordy sentiments on them. So I've just edited it a little bit, and I'm playing with the composition. Now, the fronds that you see, there is again something that I've had in my stash. When I do the tags, I want to use what's there. I don't want to have to go and find something new or spend a lot of time on that. Again, I'm not overthinking it. I'm going to keep it simple. So I love these fronds. They are something that I stenciled with a homemade stencil that I made of these fronds onto book paper, and then it's been stamped. And I like how that orange works with that navy blue, works with the background in there. This is not a color combo that I would have gone for, but I really like how it works. So now I might actually do that on purpose. Everything I learn here, I take with me onto my next projects. So I said, little moments make life big. And for the most part, this tag is done. So let's go back to this one. This is from the Sacred Geometry stamp set from Stamperia. I'm not sure if that one's available, and I'm just stamping with black acrylic paint. Again, the name of the game is let's build some layers. We've got a boring, very plain, bright aqua background. We did a little bit of stenciling with Prussian blue, and now we're going to layer it up. And as I stamp on top of this, it pushes back some of that stenciling. It grunges up that background. It makes it a whole lot more interesting. So I'm just applying acrylic paint with a makeup sponge onto my stamp and stamping. Now I'm not looking for a perfect stamp or a complete stamp. I just want pattern and interest in my background. So if you've got stamps, this is a great way to use those smaller stamps as part of the background. And again, sometimes what I do is, okay, which one haven't I used lately? And that is the only decision I make. That's the only factor. I'm not looking for a perfect thing. I'm not overthinking it. Let's keep it simple. So here's another stamp in that Sacred Geometry stamp set. And again, I'm just adding it in the background. I don't necessarily want to know what it was in its entirety. What I don't want to be able to read it. I think there's some text on this one. I'm just grunging up that background, adding some interest, making layers. And then I go around with that black paint on my makeup sponge and edge this tag that frames it. And I already have the makeup or the paint, the black paint on the makeup sponge, so why wouldn't I use it that way? So here, I don't know if you can see it, but I stamped with a peacock feather stamp with the white gesso. It's very, very faint, but that gave me the idea for the next step. Here I'm just spraying Murphy's oil soap on the stamp and cleaning it with a rag. You always want to clean your stamps when you've used acrylic paint on them. And I remembered I have feather stencil again from the Crafter's Workshop. This one I think is called Four Feathers. And I'm trying to decide, I want to put that on and I want to stencil this with black, but I'm a little scared to just go in and put it. What if it's crooked? Or where will I put the sentiment? So I'm starting to overthink here. And so I decide, okay, I'm going to grab a sentiment and set up the composition here. So again, I reach for another sentiment from the same, my work in progress, the sentiment pack from my word of the year for 2025, or phrase of the year, which is moments and memories. And this one says, time flies, memories last forever. So I'm just going to cut this out down, get rid of some of the white, and then audition it and the stenciling I want to do on this background. And I really like both of the backgrounds that I've created here. So kind of off to the side, what I'm doing is eliminating a lot of that white from the sentiment. You could glue that sentiment down, in the shape that it is, in a rectangular shape. But for something as small as a tag, I don't want all that white on it. So again, because I'm creating small, I'm changing things up. I'm editing what I'm doing. The memories is in script. And what I did there is I bubble cut around it by leaving just a little bit of white all the way around it. Just enough to make it stand out from the background. But again, getting rid of that excess of white. So now I'm going back. I got the sentiment. Now, where will I put the feathers? I'm still trying to think. I'm a little scared to just go stencil with black paint through that stencil. And so I decide, you know what? I am going to make kind of I'm going to stencil this on this excess ply of napkin and use that as a stand-in to addition it. And then I can get the perfect placement without the risk. Now, I could also stencil this napkin right down onto the tag, this napkin ply. I opted to do it the other way, but I could have cut this out and glued it down, and that would have worked as well. So I'm just going to rough cut these feathers, and then I'm going to play with it on my background with a sentiment and figure out exactly where I want to stencil it. Minimize the risk, so to speak. And I apologize that I'm off screen, but it's more important that you understand the process, and you're going to see in a minute me audition on the tag when I bring it into there. There we go. So I can layer this up and decide, do I want them going upside down? Do I want them crossing? How do I want them? Where am I going to put the sentiment? If I do that, then I can put the sentiment up here. So I've actually changed my mind about where I want that sentiment to go from before, now that I actually have the feathers there that I can manipulate and move around instead of just stenciling right on. So I'm really happy with the composition of this. So I'm going to grab my fluid matte medium and glue down first the sentiment, and then I will stencil those feathers where I now have figured out they can go. So minimize the risk. As I said, this sentiment pack, Moments and Memories, will be available in the new year at NINNYSNAPKINS.com, but I do have, over a dozen sentiment packs there. They are digital downloads that you can purchase. And the benefit of digital downloads for sentiments is you can shrink them, you can make them bigger. With the settings on your printer, you can print them off as many times as possible. Each sentiment pack has close to 30, if not more, sentiments. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. And you can check that out. I will link the sentiment packs in the description box, and you can go check that out if that's something that interests you. So there I've stenciled the one feather with the black paint, and then I'm going to do the other one. But I am cleaning off the stencil because I'm flipping it and getting it going in the other direction. So as I said, these tags were made in two different sessions. Parts of it were done, several days before, and they were just waiting to be finished. And so the tags, when I put the paint on, when I do one layer, I may add one or two layers, and it may sit again. Here I grab my fine line applicator bottle, the gold, and I'm just adding a little bit of gold. That gold really works well with the blues and the greens that are in the background. It adds a little shimmer and shine. Once that's dry, I grab my Secura glaze pen in black, and I'm just outlining the sentiment. And then I grab that first tag and I decide to do the same on it. Just makes the sentiment stand out just that little bit more. And then I decide to do kind of a little sketchy outlining with the Secura glaze on these fronds. I'm not making it a complete line, but it does add a little detail that I rather like on the finished project. So there we have the finished tags. They both started with leftover paint and they evolved over time in several different work sessions. And I wasn't overthinking it. I was using stuff that was on my desk or near my desk. I wasn't doing it. So I put it on this ring at the end after I do both sides, and I just keep the tags like that. People ask about that in the last video, so I thought I'd throw that in. Until next time, go get creative